All right, here is the worked out solutions for practice number 21, and I'm going to say this right away. I worked these out very quickly, so I'm hoping that I did not make any mistakes. I'm going to kind of talk you through the process. So like on number 1, the focus is at negative 2, 0. So I put a dot right there. And I know the parabola has to open to the left because it's going to be inside of that parabola. So the focus is inside of the parabola. My P is going to be negative 2 because I'm going to the left. It's going to have to be x equals because it's opening sideways. And I've got one of my equations here. The other equation is x equals 1 over 4p y squared. That's what I'm using on this one. And my p is negative 2, so it just becomes negative 1/8 y squared. On number 2, my focus is 0, 4 right here. It's going to be opening upward. P is 4. 1 over 4 times 4 is 1 over 16, so y equals 1/16 x squared. And I know it's y equals because it's opening upward. On number 3, it's going to be opening downward. And before I even know anything, I know I'm going to have a negative sign in front because it is opening downward. My p-value on number 3 is negative 3. The distance from the vertex to the focus, I'm going down 3 units. So it's 1 over 4 times negative 3. That's where the negative 1/12 comes from. And again, it's y equals because it's up and down. On number 4, my focus is 3, 0. And I know it has to open sideways, and it's opening to the right. My p-value is 3, so that's going to be 1 over 12 y squared. And I know it's x equals because it's sideways. Same thing with number 5. That's going to be sideways as well. And my p-value is negative 5. Whenever it's opening to the left, you're going to have a negative sign, so it's negative 1 over 20 y squared. Number 6, your focus is 0, 5. That's opening upward. Your p is 5 because the distance from the focus to the vertex is 5 units, and you get 1 over 20 x squared. On number 7 and 8, you needed to identify the vertex. I didn't do that for either of these, but it's 0, 0. The directrix and the focus, well, I figured out what your p was. You just take 1/12, the coefficient in front, and set it to 1 over 4p. Here I got p equals 3. So my focus is 0, 3. And my directrix is y equals negative 3. Here, this one, and I did not graph it at, you can check your graphs on Desmos if you really want to. On number 8, I know that this one is going to be sideways and open to the left. My p, because it's x equals and it's a negative sign, my p-value is negative 1. So my my focus is going to be negative 1, 0. As I said, I know it's opening to the left, so that focus has to be inside of that parabola. And my directrix would be x equals 1. Has to be x equals because it's going to be a vertical line. On the ones down in below, they gave us the directrix. And what I did was I sketched it. So the directrix here is x equals 3. That's going to be a vertical line. My vertex is at 0, 0. So my focus would be right here. It's going to open to the left. My p is going to be negative 3. And so it's 1 over 4 times negative 3. That's where the negative 1/12 comes from. Same process for 15 and 13. If you didn't notice, I whited out the problems that we did not do just so I had more room to work. All right, this one we did the circles. Your formula is x minus h quantity squared plus y minus k quantity squared equals r squared. And it's just a matter of plugging in your h and your k. Your H and your K are your radius, or it's your center, and H is the first, your x-coordinate, K is your y. Biggest mistake here is just making mistakes with your sign. So like for -1, it's actually x minus -1, which makes it a plus. I know I had questions in class about 7, 9, and 11. I think you guys were just taken back by the directions where it says for each translation. That just means I'm moving my center. So on this one, it's going right 4, down 2. So -4 to the right 4, down 2. My k value is -2, so it's y minus -2. And your radius here is 3, and which gives you 9. 3 squared is 9. Here, I'm going right 1, so -1, up 7, so -7, equals 49. On this one, I'm only going up 10, so the only thing being affected is my y, so it's y minus 10, quantity squared. For 14, you needed to find the radius and the center, and I will tell you right now, I thought these were a little bit hard to see, so hopefully I counted them correctly. I got my center as 1, 4, and my radius is 2. If you put 2 squared here instead of 4, I'm okay with that. On this one, I got my center at -3, -4. Again, hopefully I counted correctly. And my radius was 3. And again, if you put 3 squared instead of 9, I'm okay with that. For 19, 21, and 23, you just needed to find the center. Again, be careful of your signs because it's x minus h, y minus k. What you're technically doing is setting those parentheses equal to 0 and solving. So it's -1, 8, radius is 1. I know in class this kind of threw people off that it wasn't a perfect square. That's okay. You just take the square root. -3, -1, your radius is radical 2, which would be approximately 1.4. Number 23, your center is 6, 9, and your radius is 2. Here, they asked you to graph. I'm going to let you check your graphs on Desmos, but what you really are doing is your center is -9, 2. So you're going to put a dot at -9, 2. I'm not going to count it out. Your radius is 9. So you're going to go to the left 9, to the right 9. I know I just did those backwards. Up 9, down 9. Draw a circle. Kind of a circle. Go ahead and use Desmos to check yourself on those. 1 and 5 here, and 8. You needed to write the equation. Well, if you were to sketch this, 6, 0 is right here, and that's your vertex. So that is telling us A is 6. And here, -5, that is telling me B equals 5. And the 6 has to go underneath the A because that's your right and left. The 25 goes underneath the Y because that's your up and down. Same process for all of them. Number 10, we needed to graph. I'm going to let you kind of check some of your graphs on Canva or on Desmos, but I want to kind of go through the procedure. This one, I know it's going to be more up and down because my biggest number is underneath my Y. So my center's at 0, 0. My number underneath my x squared is 1 squared, so I go right 1, left 1. My number underneath y squared is 6 squared, so I go up 6, down 6. That's where those come from. So those are my co-vertices, those are my vertices. They also asked us to find the foci. which is going to be 36 minus 1, which is a squared minus b squared. And I got radical 35. Well, if I were graphing that, the foci, they're going to be on the major axis. So that's my y-coordinate. My x-coordinate doesn't change. It's my y-coordinate. So I add that to whatever my center is, and I subtract it to whatever my center is. All right, I'll let you go ahead and check 12 and 14. Looks like I skipped number 21 and 26. Not sure how that happened, but that's okay. Writing equation for the ellipse given the foci and the vertices. Well, the co-vertices here are 0 plus or minus 2, which would be right there and there. And then my foci is 5 and negative 5. And I'm just doing a quick sketch here. So it's actually going to have to extend out further like that. So I don't know how much further it extends, but I know B is 2, C is 5. I need to know A. So 5 squared equals A squared minus B squared. So in this case, 25 equals A squared minus 4. Looks like A is going to be radical 29. So if I were going to figure out the square root of 29, that's going to be like 5 point something, 5.5 maybe. I'd have to check that with the calculator. But it's more than 5. So right here would be radical 29. Right here would be negative square root of 29. So when I write that equation, I know x is first, because that's my major axis. And I'm going radical 29 squared, which is just going to be 29. A plus sign. My y is second. And they gave me my co-vertices. That'll be 2 squared, which I probably should have just written 4. And it's going to equal 1. Follow the same procedure for 26. 27, or I'm sorry, that's not 27, 13. I'm putting a V for the vertices, an A for the asymptotes. Sketching it, you can check that on Desmos, but we'll go through one of them. Actually, we'll go through this very first one. And I'm going to get fancy and actually draw straight lines. Let's do it in red. All right, so my number underneath my x is 2. So I'm going to go right 2, left 2. Underneath my y, it's also going to be 2 squared. So I'm going to go up 2, down 2. I know that this is going to open sideways because my x is the first number that comes. So I'm going to sketch my box, which that is poorly sketched, but we can go with that. Now I'm going to draw my asymptotes. Draw them in black. Oops. I think that's what I meant to have. Goes through the center and through the corners of the box. Imagine that actually is going through the center and the corners of the box. If I had a better drawn box, that would be better. And as I said, that is going sideways because my x is first. Use the asymptotes to kind of guide you. Yep, I did not mean to have a dotted line. That's what happens when I get fancy. So there's the first one. There's the second half. Those are my vertices right there, which I went 2 and 2. Also, my asymptotes are rise over run. It's going to be y equals, and it's going up 2, left 2. So my slope is 2 over 2. If I go left, it's negative. If I go right, it's positive. So that's plus or minus, which reduces to 1. So plus or minus 1x. And that's how you would graph it. And that's what you should get. Go ahead and check your answers for 14 through 16. I meant 14 through 18. You might need to hit pause. All right, that was it. Good luck tomorrow.